Glad to have you back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Today our focus on the program is going to be on the ban on importation of dollars by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Well, recently the Central Bank of Nigeria says that the economy is becoming heavily dependent on the dollar and has taken certain measures to ensure that this is curbed. And like most of us know, it's not only peculiar to Nigeria, but we're hoping that we're going to shed more light on most of these issues and how we can go forward on this. I'm being joined on the program by an economic analyst, Henry Boyo, and the Executive Secretary, Financial Market Dealers Association, Wale Abi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Harry.
But just before we start our conversation, there was actually a press meeting where the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, the Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, spoke on the dollarization of the economy. Let's just quickly take a listen to that. Let's listen to that, rather, and then we'll come back to start Business Morning proper.
There's nowhere in the world where you go to a bank and because you had a transfer and insist on making in that currency. No. If you're in UK, get paid in pounds. If you're in Japan, get paid in Japanese yen. You know? If you're in China, you get paid in yuan. So there is no way. We have this sense of entitlement. Central Bank did introduce this policy of asking the banks to pay dollars because there was a time at which the banks used to cheat people and basically give them an exchange rate that was not the right exchange rate. Now we've said very clearly that the exchange rate must be the interbank rate on the date of exchange, and the banks are required to display that rate in their bank. I don't see how we're going to continue with a policy that is not consistent with global practices. I'll continue importing dollars and basically saying that we don't have confidence in our own currency. It's like all these journalists that write newspaper and say that I should distribute fat in dollars. So tell me one country in the world that basically distributes its reserves in foreign currency. Why should Nigeria be the only one? What is the logic? Why are we different? Why are we different from Ghana? If you go to Ghana, you get paid the same. If you go to your marriage, you get paid in CFR. Why is it that if you transfer dollars to your uncle or aunt who is going to spend money in Nigeria, they should not be paid the naira equivalent of our foreign currency? Anyone who refuses, who says, I will not accept naira for payment and I want to be paid in foreign currency and rejects the naira, is committing an offense.
Well, CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. Well, gentlemen, we've heard what the CBN Governor has said. Let's get your take on this, Henry. Let me start with you.
Well, the question I would want to ask is, when did this sudden realization come about? The gentleman has been there for about 4 years or so. The process that he is now against has been ably supported and encouraged by the central bank. The central bank itself decided willfully, totally unforced, to be allocating $1 million to each bureau de change in the country, knowing fully well the implications for such an action.
But so I'm guessing that they would definitely have looked at market variables before they decided on this particular action. Like he said, that whenever that the banks were not being honest, they felt that the banks were not honest in how they pay out this money to the customers when they come to collect their Western Union or MoneyGrams because of the disparity in the interbank rates. So I'm guessing that while you could comment on that, if there were disparities, why were there disparities in the first place? Because I'm guessing that everybody takes their cue from the CBN.
Before now, each bank was free to negotiate with any customer regarding whether you want to, if funds are transferred to you through either MoneyGram or whichever of those avenues, you could decide to take your money either in Naira or in FX. But the reality of it was that, first of all, the banks, because they have formal markets, for trading foreign exchange. And as individuals, there are no formal markets. You have to go through either the banking system or the BDCs to either sell your dollar before you can convert to Naira. So banks were actually, because the currency here is Naira, so banks will look at the exchange rate and then, of course, pay the beneficiaries in Naira. But of course, it is possible for some to be paid in dollars then. So but what has happened is that, look, given what the effects of dollarization in the economy, and the CBN simply, one thing I always say is this: those of us who are outside the central banking system, we don't see the entire picture. We only see one side of the coin. And as a result, they have better information. And they don't forget that returns are rendered to central bank on a regular basis. But one thing that, with regards to the BDCs, the reality of it is that the supervision is not quite as, and cannot be quite as effective when it comes to the formal banking system. And so you discover, therefore, that, given the fact that, why is it that BDCs are meant to, why do you sell dollars to BDCs? Of course, one thing we've always advocated is that people should have access, to foreign exchange at any point in time once it is needed, so that the pressure regarding demand in that market can come down as much as possible. But the reality of it is this: if you introduce a policy in Nigeria, the people will always look for avenues to circumvent such policies, and that's what happened actually.
So if we're saying
this, so what central bank is doing is simply to correct some of the anomalies they've observed over time.
Well, correct these anomalies. So is it like to curb money laundering or the dollarization, or protect the Naira? Because you see, that's basically what we're trying to get at. Nigeria isn't the only country that imports dollars. But what the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying is that it is now the largest importer of US dollars. Yes. And it seems that it's as much as we don't want to agree to it or we don't like it, is what's happening. Now we have, when you go to collect your Western money or MoneyGram, you want to collect it in your local currency. That's what the CBN is saying now. Before now, you could have the option of collecting in either Naira or dollar, but why? When we know that our economy is not a dollar economy, we know that our economy has a local currency of its own, which is the Naira. Yes. So why would we be doing that? And now people feel as if they are being shortchanged. Henry?
I totally agree with you. And that is exactly what I said earlier on, that why this sudden realization that you have been running what I would call a laughable forex system. Laughable in the sense that no central bank anywhere consciously, formally allocates dollars in the magnitude that we did in the past to bureau de change. It's an indication of a totally ineffective and ineffectual foreign exchange system. I am surprised that the central bank, well, I am not surprised because it is quite clear that the former system was totally unsustainable. But one thing that should be clear is, or one thing we should ask ourselves, is why do people, when they go to collect your so-called remittances and transfers, why do they demand dollars rather than Naira? It's a very fundamental question, because the answer to that is simply that people have lost confidence in the value of the Naira. And who is the controller, who is the protector, who is the custodian, who is the issuer of the Naira? The central bank. So when the central bank now says, we are trying to Nairanize the economy so that the exchange rate stability can be sustained. There hasn't been exchange rate stability in the first place. There's been exchange rate stagnation. But the important thing is that a mosquito cannot tell you how to cure malaria. It is not in their interest to do so. The central bank is responsible for ensuring that the purchasing power of our naira remains stable and sustainable, but it cannot be when you have inflation at an average of 10% annually. That is an indication of failure. I said you can't expect a mosquito to tell you how to cure malaria. The same way, the central bank itself is actually responsible for creating the glut of naira that creates an imbalance between the supply of naira and the supply of dollars in the market.
Okay.
Once you have a market imbalance, you have a price imbalance as well. So long as the central bank itself, which is the mosquito in this particular case, is busy flooding the market every week, every month with excess naira and expects that the value of the naira will remain stable vis-a-vis the dollar and expects that people will continue to choose the naira as a store of value, as a currency, I think it is certainly a misapplication of expectation.
Okay, sorry to cut in here now. There's been this debate, a very strong one. It didn't start today, about the a higher denomination of our naira. For instance, a 5,000 naira note. Will this probably reduce this challenge that we're facing? But just before you respond to that, we also had the Central Bank of Nigeria governor, the CBN governor, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, commenting on this issue. Let's quickly listen to him, and then we'll come back and we'll take your reaction.